Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. We come together by the light of the chalice flame. If you're joining us from home, we invite you to light a candle or chalice. Please join together as we say the words we say each week to light our chalice flame. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Christina Leon Tracy. I'm your senior minister here at the fellowship, and I am so glad to be back after a time away for medical leave. I'm feeling much better, and I'm incredibly grateful for the gift of time to heal. By way of regular reminders, there are exits in the back of the sanctuary on either side, and we ask you to please make sure your cell phones are silent. Although, feel free to keep them out. Take pictures. Tell people in the world where you are. Today, we welcome our guest speaker, the Reverend Taizan Alford. Tai is a longtime member of the Fox Valley UU Fellowship, along with his husband, Tom Pynenberg. He's an ordained Soto Zen priest in training at Clouds in Water Zen Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Tai hopes to train in Japan in the next year or so. The focus of his practice is how suffering can be alleviated in daily life through living the Buddhist precepts wholeheartedly with compassion. Welcome back, Tai. If this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. We would love to help you get connected here. You can talk with me or anyone on our staff after the service or send us an email. And now it's time to settle in. Take a deep breath. Become aware of your body, wherever you are. Allow yourself to be fully present together in this space. I'm so glad you're here.
So let us gather for this special time together. These words from Zen teacher Pema Chodron. When you begin to touch your heart, or let your heart be touched, you begin to discover that it's bottomless, that this heart is huge, vast, and limitless. You begin to discover how much warmth and gentleness there is here, as well as how much space.
Today we are focusing our attention on the Zen teaching of compassion. Compassion for ourselves and others is a bedrock also of Unitarian Universalism. Practicing the art of giving and receiving freely without shame and with generosity is a practice of compassion. If you are ever in need of emotional, spiritual, or financial support, we are here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to our ministers. It is a joy for them to be able to offer help. And if you are one who is feeling stable and able to give, we ask that you do so in the spirit of generosity. There are many ways to give to the fellowship. You can give of your time and talent, and we especially need financial resources to allow our ministries to thrive for months and years to come. If you are here in our building, feel free to come up to one of our ushers who is standing at the back of the sanctuary, or you can raise your hand to have an usher come to you. For everyone else, we encourage you to donate online or via our text to give function on a smartphone. Thank you. Your gifts are deeply appreciated.
We share with each other from our hearts as an act of compassion, an act of widening our circle of care beyond our own individual lives. To be held in community is a deeply powerful gift, and we invite you to let us know whenever you need to be held and in this fellowship's embrace. You can reach out to anyone on staff or fill out the Joys and Concerns form on our website. The options of sharing privately with a minister, asking for support from the care team, or sharing more widely with our community are all available to you. The act of sharing our lives with each other allows us to have our joys feel multiplied and our sorrows feel divided. If you're joining us on Zoom, you can also share in the chat box whatever is on your mind or on your heart. This week, there are no submitted joys or concerns to share, but I name that a lot of our staff are home positive with COVID right now. So I'm so grateful to David and everyone who stepped up to help make this service possible. It's been a very quiet week at the office for me to get settled back in. And everyone, I'm checking in with everyone, and they're doing fine, but they're not here today. They would appreciate your joy, your prayers of healing. We now turn our attention to those joys and concerns wider than those of this gathered community. We allow our mind and heart to reach out in ever-widening circles like the ripples in water. Our first stone is for the United States. We continue to mourn the heartbreaking losses around the nation due to gun violence. And we commit ourselves to actions to end violence in whatever ways we can. As the ripples continue, we recognize our interconnectedness across borders and oceans as we add another stone for the global heat waves, which have gripped the northern hemisphere and continue to contribute to extreme and dangerous weather. As a green sanctuary, we continue to focus on the impacts of climate crisis and how we can help. Our final stone brings us back to our local community and to the state of Wisconsin. We hold the joy of our community this month as summer is in full swing and festivals abound. We celebrate Midwest Sunsplash, Paper Fest, the EAA Air Venture, Art in the Park, and Mile of Music that have recently happened or are happening soon, among many other festivities. It's an act of spiritual practice and resistance to find joy, and we are grateful that our community supports us in that practice. We enfold all who are celebrating and all who are suffering in the embrace of our hearts, and we commit ourselves again and again to acts of compassion and justice in service to those circles beyond our own. May this moment of silence help to make it so.
Our settling song is number 128 in the Grey Hymnal. We will sing all 4 verses. The words will also be on the screen, and I invite you to stand if you prefer to join in song. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
So we're heavy on the Pema Chodron today. Pema Chodron, again, the Zen Buddhist teacher, scholar, writer, and nun. Honesty. Without kindness, humor, good-hearted news, can just be mean. From the very beginning to the very end, pointing our own hearts to discover what is true.
Pema Chodron also writes, "So many of us start on a spiritual path because we are suffering. But you must realize that for real healing to occur, there must be deep compassion for yourself. especially the parts of yourself you dislike or consider ugly. Confession time. I had a stupidly difficult time writing this reflection. I use the term stupidly difficult intentionally, as ironically I used the term compassion in a recent annual employment review as one of my personal strengths. I work as a certified peer specialist, utilizing my own lived experiences to help others experiencing emotional distress or crisis. It's an incredibly fulfilling job, and I find myself capitalizing on my capacity for compassion. Yet, when given a chance to talk about this alleged strength, I find myself embarrassingly at a loss for words. It seems to have become a cultural buzzword, yet as many buzzwords do, through its overuse, we have lost its true meaning. At a loss for even where to begin, I cracked open good old Merriam-Webster. Compassion, a noun, is a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it. While definitively clear and concise, I have several problems with this definition. So let's break it down. First, compassion as a noun. Wouldn't it be great to go to the convenience store and pick up a couple packs of compassion? While compassion is certainly a thing we possess, it only exists in relationships between two or more people. It's inherently subjective based on those involved. One's definition and capacity for compassion is entirely situational. If compassion is so variable, how does one even know or sense its presence? Second, a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress. Here I get hung up on the word consciousness. It seems like compassion is more than a single act or idea, but rather a frame of reference through which we interact with the world, an entire consciousness. Yet when we pair this with a state of distress, one begins to wonder why anyone would ever live in this consciousness. Why would we choose to take on more distress? Third, a desire to alleviate it. This third part of the definition seems a bit shortchanged to me. If I know someone's in distress, I would have to be some sort of sociopath to just abandon them there. Compassion, in my understanding, seems to necessitate more of a direct action. Yet through my work, I've come to recognize this deprives individuals of their autonomy. Can simply the desire to alleviate it be enough? So, after careful consideration, I've come to the conclusion maybe Webster's doesn't have all the answers on this one. Compassion may be one of those words that never has a clear or concise definition. To me, compassion is an approach to a relationship. Through this approach, I humbly set aside my own notions of how things should be, and instead seek to understand another's point of view. Compassion is a kind of connection, a connection to be strived for within the human experience.
So this is a new song. And the words that you're going to hear are not exactly the same as they are in there because it's changed again, but it's close. So, aching soul, breaking heart, washed up on the shore, all alone, nowhere to go, no way to get there. the vast and luminous sky. I've heard the only ones I've ever loved, just trying to ease my pain. I need to find a way to start to love again. Slowly, slowly, he finds his way. Remembers what it's like to live. Deep breaths of the summer air. Eagle flies to the treetop. Please, please help me cry. Be the person I long to be. I still hurt the only ones I've ever loved, just trying to ease my pain. I need to find a way to start to love again. Each day, it's another chance to begin anew. With kindness leading the way, he takes the very next step. Pretty soon he's run the race. It's time for him to come home. Please help me cry. Love on this my dying day. I still hurt the only one I've ever loved, just trying to ease my pain. Maybe we can find forgiveness, start to love again. May we find forgiveness, start to love again. Thank you. God, it's so great to see y'all. I'd like to start this talk by dedicating it to all beings who are suffering, and to the Dakota and Winnebago peoples whose descendants are still here and whose lands we occupy. I also offer this talk with deep gratitude to our Indian, Chinese, and Japanese spiritual ancestors, for they have given us for all that they have given us and given me, all that I have received from them and all of my teachers, and the chance to be here today. I stand, and I believe that we as Unitarian Universalists stand with the black, brown people of color who suffer as a result of systemic racism. We are all connected. May we work together for the liberation of all beings. So I also want to do a short chant. This is the disaster preventing Dharani. That's what it's called, the disaster preventing Dharani. So this is just like, please help. This is my variation of please help me. Shosai Chikito Dharani Nomo Sanmanda Motona Noharachi Kotosha Sonona Tojito and Gyaki Unnun Shifura Harashifura Chitsusa Chitsuri Sawaja Senji Gya Shirie Somoko Nomo Sanmanda Motona Oharachi Kotosha Sononan Tojito and Gyaki Unnun Shifura Harashifura, Chitsusa, Chitsuri, Sawaja, Senchiga, Shirie, Somoko, Nomo, Sanmanda, Motonan, Oharachi, Chitsusa, Chononan, Tojito, Gyaki, Unnun, Shifura, Harashifura, Chitsusa, Chitsuri, Sawaja, Senchiga, Shirie, Somoko. So, just like Alex said, anytime we get into commodifying spiritual practices, we get into trouble. I'll do my best not to do that here. Cultivating a heart of compassion in the midst of suffering is not an easy thing to do. And sometimes, given the current state of affairs, you might wonder, do I want to be compassionate? Maybe I just want to kick some butt, right? Well, for me, the Bodhisattva Vows help me point my life in a way that helps me remember what's important. So the traditional way of saying the Bodhisattva Vows are this. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to attain it or realize it. I want to break those down one by one. So, first of all, let's go back a minute and talk about what a bodhisattva is. Bodhisattva is a being who is like on the verge of realization or entering nirvana or heaven. And I like to think heaven and hell are here on earth. And so if someone is a realized being, then their experience of living on earth would be more heaven-like than hell-like. But nonetheless, this person on the verge of realization chooses not to cross over, if you will, and to go into heaven and live in bliss the rest of their lives. What they choose to do is to, like it's the guy that, maybe you heard this story, there's a guy and he goes on this big exploration and he runs across the field and he works and he hard, and then he finds this place and he climbs the wall and he peeks over the wall. And he's like, oh my God, it's amazing here. It's beautiful here. I can't believe it. I got to go tell all my friends. So he goes back and he tells all his friends and he shows them the way there instead of, oh my God, this is beautiful. I think I'm going to climb in, right? So Bodhisattva is a person like that. And it's the beings are numberless. I vow to free them. So it's like there's so many beings. There are even so many people, I can't even count them. How many billions? It's a whole other story. But anyway, there's so many beings, but even there's so many beings inside myself to save. like all of the historical trauma, all the stuff that I carry with me, all the stuff of my ancestors, my parents, my grandparents, the way that I grew up, like, like just that I'm like yanked around here and there, like how am I going to free myself? So I have enough to like work on myself. But then there's just the little teeny tiny things I can do every day. Like if I'm walking down the street, sometimes I don't, but what I try to do, if I see a piece of trash, I try to pick it up. So it's like the guy, because you're like, it's so vast, it's so big, why do you even try, right? So I'm like the guy throwing the starfish back in the ocean. The guy's like, why are you doing that? There's so many starfish, you can't help though, there's too much. And you're just like, what? He reaches down, he picks one up, and he throws it back in, and he goes, well, I helped that one. So it's like that. I try to do a little bit that does help. The second Bodhisattva vow is delusions are numberless. I vow to end them. So this is, I think, where the rubber hits the road so much every day. Because delusions are numberless. There are so many ways that, I can lie to myself. There's so many ways that I try to prop myself up with my ego. There's so many ways that I want to be right. There's so many ways that just those delusions, I'm just like, oh my God, I've got so far to go. That's why just like in the song, when I'm like, I still hurt the only ones I've ever loved. And usually the way that I hurt people that I love is by trying to somehow pretend that I'm better than I am. It's nothing like living with somebody where you get to see just how human, I get to see just how human I am. So I'll give you a little example. And I only do this because I love to embarrass myself in front of you. No, I do this because I'm hoping that you'll relate. And then, I have taken these vows, and I am a Soto Zen priest, and I'm doing my best, and I screw up every day. So sometimes, maybe you guys have heard this, but sometimes I'll say something like really, really cynical, and Tom will be like, so says the Buddhist priest, and I'm just like, oh. So in that same vein, yesterday, I was looking for the honey. I'd been looking for it for a couple of days in this cabinets where it's supposed to be. And the first time I look for it, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'll put it someplace else. And I look and I can't find something. Second day I look and I can't find it. The third day, which was yesterday, I'm like, where did Tom put the honey? And he's sitting right in the other room. I'm like, hey Tom, do you know where the honey is? Like, nope. And I'm like, are you sure? Don't you know where it is? He's like, and I thought you would know where it was. He's like, oh, that's what you would think. Oh, I'm like, I'm off and running. Off and running. I'm like, he's messing with me. He's trying to piss me off. And I'm in this whole thing, and then and then he's like, are you sure? Have you looked in the whole cabinet? I'm like, so then I dig and I dig and I dig and I dig and I dig, and I'm like, oh, here it is, right in the back. So then I have to go again and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong. But to have, compassion for myself, so that when I screw up and when I screw up again, that I can just go, it's okay. It's all right. All of us have had some kind of trauma, some kind of something, that maybe not everybody. I don't know. Sometimes I think, who was it? Somebody I was thinking, there's a guy that is in my priest group, and we were talking about koans yesterday. And I think, because he was talking about how almost everybody in the group is like, oh yeah, I feel like they're just beating me up, but they're just arguing with me. And I was arguing with me about this koan. He's like, no, I just think that they're offering an alternate point of view. And I thought, man, that guy has not, nobody's yelled at that guy. I don't think it's true. But anyway, I think we all go through stuff that, we're going to be reactive to. And so what I'm working to learn to do is to learn to ride that, without the thing coming out of my mouth. And I am not entirely successful. I wish I were. So anyway, delusions are numberless. I vow to end them. So it's all I can do to work on ending these delusions that are inside of me. Because I noticed that, I do these long meditation retreats, and I've been doing these long meditation retreats for years, right? You'd think I'd be a little better. But the point is, when I'm on those long meditation retreats, and I sit in meditation for lots of hours a day, sit and walk and sit and walk and sit and walk and eat in silence and do these special ceremonies, I start to get some insight. I start to get some insight about what's running What's running that delusion? What's running that fear? What's running, like, where does that come from? And I can extend that compassion to myself. And I can say to myself, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, that's what's, oh, wow. That's still here? Oh, honey. And I can go, oh, okay, I can see. Because my default, my knee-jerk tendency is to be like, did it again, you know, instead of like, wait, settle down. It's okay, it's all right. You know, so that when I walk in the garage and I hear the garage door, and I see the guy coming, I know the garage door is going to open, but as soon as I hear that, I'm like, my whole body's like, you know, so like, you know, and I'm just like, it's okay, honey, it's okay. You know, so just to learn how to do that. I don't know, maybe you don't have that, that's okay. All right, third thing, Dharma gates. Dharma is the word for the teachings of the Buddha. So Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. So these are a couple of different things you could take it. So the first way I could take it is, have you guys ever tried to get the scope of all the Buddhist writings? Anybody looked at a library? Oh my God. Even the books I have in my own personal library, I don't think I'm ever going to finish them, and I keep buying more. But anyway, so there's so many teachings, and there's so many variations of teachings, and there's so many people's interpretations of the teachings. They are endless. You know, they're without end. I vow to enter them. The second way to interpret that is Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Is every single day there's an opportunity to choose kindness over hatred. Very famously, or really often, I've seen the quote that says, hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love. In one sense, that's true, but if you go back to the Pali, it actually is, hatred never ceases by hatred, but by non-hatred. So sometimes I can't start like I'm going to be all lovey-dovey and starry-eyed. I'm not going to, it's like I'm not going to just think that people are fabulous that I disagree with, that I'm afraid they're killing the planet, and that I think that they're screwing up on, reproductive rights. But I can start by not hating, by saying, nope, I see that. I see the aggression come up in myself. I see the hatred come up in myself. And there's a moment, there's a point now, because I've spent all this time meditating, there's a decision point where I have the choice to choose. Do I choose hatred? Do I choose kindness? Do I choose hatred? Do I choose non-hatred? Sometimes the best I can do is just go, stop. Just stop. That's not the person I want to be. It's not the person I want to be. The fourth of the Bodhisattva vows are, the Buddha way is endless, or the Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Now, that sounds like, I think the Buddha way is like way better than any other way. It's a fabulous way, and everybody should follow it, and you guys all become Buddhists with me. Well, I'm also a Unitarian Universalist, so I'm not going to say that. And I don't. But I will say that for me, it's been the key that's turned the lock. For me, this practice of sitting meditation, being silent, having a teacher, being in community, trying to do this practice, meditating every day, trying to catch myself. Really, I was trying to tell Tom about something. It was the 5 remembrances, and basically, I don't think I'm going to go into them because I'm getting up on time, but it's like, well, I know. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, the 5 remembrances, and I'm like, I guess what happens often with Tom is that I'll think he doesn't know. I'll think, I'm going to teach him something, and then he'll be like, and I'm just like, how, you're not supposed to know that. So I'm like, well, let's see let me hear him. So he's like, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I'm like, that's not a 5 remembrances, but you know what? That's a really good thing to remember. That's a really good thing to remember. That's like the 5 remembrances. I will tell them to you briefly, just because I think that this whole place that we've been in, with COVID, the pandemic still going on, with just scary political stuff going on, with loss of rights, fear of loss of rights. It's, like if I focus on that all the time, it's going to make me nuts. So it's come up in conversation this week a couple of times with people when they're just like, it's so hard. And I'm like, it is hard. It's really hard. And I think because of our privilege, I'll speak for myself, because of my own privilege, most of my life, I have been able to ignore these things, these 5 remembrances I'm going to say. I've been able to kind of pretend like they didn't exist. So I'll tell you what they are now. So the 5 remembrances are, I want to make sure I don't forget them. Are they not here? They're not here. They're here. They're here. I just skipped a couple of pages of the thing. No. Yes. No. Yes. Here they are. All right. I am of the nature to grow old. I cannot escape growing old. I am of the nature to get sick. I cannot escape sickness. I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. I inherit the results of my actions, of my body, speech, and mind. My actions are my continuation. I like to say, my actions are the only thing that will actually outlive me. And so, I think compassion, whereas I think compassion is a verb. I think compassion is a verb. It's just like love. There's the ability to love and the desire to love. There's the ability to have compassion, and there's the desire to have compassion. I have all the desire to have compassion in the world. I'm working on the taking loving actions, taking compassionate actions every day towards myself, towards everyone. So I'm just going to repeat the Bodhisattva Vows. I'm so grateful to be here with you today, and I'm so grateful that I get to share this and that you are my community. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. May all beings, including ourselves, be safe, be well, be happy, live at ease of heart, know deep and abiding peace.
As we contemplate these teachings, we'll be singing number 124 in the Grey Hymnal, Be That Guide. The words will also be on the screen. I invite you to stand if you like and to join in song.
Rise above the daily strife.
Thank you so much, Tai. That was amazing. Our time together is coming to a close, which means our time to return to the world and to our daily lives is beginning. Remember that there are always ways to get connected here, to meet new people, try new things, and live your values out loud. Be sure to read the weekly scroll email, or let us know if you want to be added to that mailing list. Check the back of the order of service for some highlights. I invite you now to consider something from today's service that you want to carry with you away from this gathering and into your week. Maybe it's a phrase, a topic, a song, or something else. Do you have it? It's our hope that it will provide inspiration and empowerment for you until we are together again. This moment of taking something with us is really important. I know we say it each week, so it's easy for it to get lost. But this is not a performance. This is something for you to take home and hopefully change your week. And now we extinguish our chalice flame. Please join me in saying the words we say as we extinguish the flame and continue to hold its warmth and light in our hearts. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mysteries. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world. Go in deep compassion for yourself and for others. Go in peace, knowing that we wait to embrace you upon your return.